Well, it's no surprise that the border bill is dead on arrival, with the bill being combined with aid for Ukraine and Israel. That is something that would definitely stop it, since there's a lot of Republicans that are against aid to the Ukrainian government. Maybe this was the reason why the bills were combined, but my question is, why are we combining like two separate bills together? You know, uh, stuff about the border shouldn't be combined with bills about aid to other nations to help fight an invasion.
Senators have released a bipartisan agreement that imposes tougher restrictions on immigration and asylum claims. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer promises a vote this week, but Republican leadership in the House says the bill is dead on arrival. Bree Jackson has that and much more.
What is with Biden being in agreement with like more restrictions on asylum seekers? I thought it was about helping people that are fleeing from nations with violence or civil rights or human rights abuses and stuff like that. It seems like now that he's become president, he's showing his true colors and that he doesn't really care.
More on a provision that would allow for a total border shutdown.
The fate of the bipartisan border security bill remains in limbo.
It is a national security crisis, not just a political crisis. It's a national security crisis, and we should treat.
How is it a national security crisis? Like what, people moving into the United States, it's somehow a national security crisis that we have tons and tons of like military officials selling or giving out secret classified documents, and that easily happens while the military just lets it goes on. That's more of a security crisis or security problem, in my opinion, than people from other nations moving into the United States.
Treat it that way.
The proposed $118 billion measure includes $20 billion for changes to immigration laws, as well as funding for Ukraine and Israel. After months of talk,
Wow, $14.1 billion for Israel and 60 billion for Ukraine. Okay, we can give this amount of money out to other nations. Can we also use that amount of money to help prop up various communities in the United States that need help? I mean, hundreds of millions of people are struggling to afford housing and stuff in the United States.
deep divisions remain even within the Republican Party. House Speaker Mike Johnson does not support it.
The product itself is not worth the House's consideration here, and that's why it's dead on arrival.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer warned members what's at stake.
This moment, this bill, the actions here in the next few days are an inflection point in history where the security of our nation and of the world hangs in the balance.
Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell backs.
Well, the security of the nation and the world hangs in the balance upon this bill. I mean, which part, um, part or like aid for Israel and Ukraine. I could see more for, like maybe the world may be in danger over, Russia invading Ukraine. If Russia wins, Russia's going to invade other parts or other nations like they have threatened to. Uh, for Israel, no, they're committing a genocide. They're the actual threat to other nations in the world. Um, and people moving into the United States, that's not a threat to the world or national security.
providing more urgent aid for Ukraine, but members of his party criticize the measure, saying it does not do enough to secure the U.S. border.
The gaping hole in our nation's sovereign borders on President Biden's watch is not going to heal itself.
Some Democrats argue the legislation goes too far.
They're not interested in fixing immigration. We are. And we can put together a much more humane, sensible bill that actually addresses the things that would make a difference.
All you would need to do is allow, create more ports of entry, safer routes to these ports of entry as well. Allow more people to come in, process them, um, have a faster process than, like 10 or 20 years. We could make it, at least a year, have these people process, and then give them a social security number once they're cleared to come into the United States. And boom, we have a legal immigrant, a nationalized citizen, coming into the United States.
Procedural vote on the border security bill is expected to take place Wednesday in the Senate. The Border Patrol Union, which represents more than 18,000 agents, endorsed the bill, saying while it's not perfect, it is a step in the right direction and would drop illegal border.
Wow, the Border Patrol agents have a union? That is quite hilarious. Why do all the law enforcement agencies have unions while the workers struggle to be able to form their own unions? It's quite interesting if you think, because the unions for the law enforcement agencies are always used to protect the bad agents in those agencies. All the while, right-wingers and others are screaming how bad unions for workers actually are. Why are unions for workers bad, but like cop unions and stuff good? You never hear of a right-winger screaming about how bad it is for cops to have a union.
Crossings nationwide.